Another pressing issue that so many families are facing right now, childcare. Today we learned $70 million in federal grant money is coming to New York State to help with new programs in so-called childcare deserts. So those are areas with insufficient services, which according to the state make up about 60% of our communities. Now, some of our counties are technically in other regions, but if you talk about just the Western New York region, we're going to get around $4 million to 27 different awardees. The money will help cover startup costs, recruit and retain staff, and give staff access to COVID-19 vaccines.
No longer left alone to figure out this as your own family's problem, which was really the mindset for such a long time. You know, employers say, that's your issue. But what we have seen, that when there is a shortage of affordable childcare, this really becomes not just a problem for a family, an economic problem for them as well. It's an economic problem for our society.
Today, Governor Hochul also touted legislation that she signed that makes adult and children diapers more affordable. They will be, going forward, exempt from sales tax. Joining us live right now to talk about this bigger picture is the CEO of the Western New York Women's Foundation, SHERI SCAVONE. SHERI, it's nice to have you back on. We talked to you a number of months ago about this important topic. I wonder, first of all, just your reaction to this announcement that we got, how much money we've received here. I mean, $4 million for the Western New York region. How much of an impact is that going to make?
Sure. Well, it's significant. You know, we as advocates worked alongside childcare providers over the last 2 years to make sure that the federal funding coming into New York State came to Western New York and came to those most in need, and in particular to childcare providers. As the governor said, you know, there's been a strong recognition that really childcare is the foundation for all of our other businesses. If people don't have a safe place for their child to be, they can't go to work. And so being able to open, 27 new centers or family providers in Western New York across the 8 counties and bring that sort of money to help them is really tremendous. We know, and we talked last time, that the childcare business is an extraordinarily difficult business with very, very low margins. And so that startup cost and those opportunities to seed new businesses is critical. We did lose 15 childcare providers during the pandemic. And so you know, we're catching up with this money and then some. And we also know that there's going to be a second part to this that we advocated for that would allow existing providers to expand. It's about 30 million, but really thrilled that there was an equitable distribution across the state, that Western New York was not left out in any way, because we know that we actually have one of the worst childcare deserts in the nation in the city of Buffalo and across Erie County in particular.
SHERI, we hear all these anecdotal stories, and I'll just share one of them. A coworker who has a family member who just found out that their daycare is closing, and then you start to scramble, right? And you think about so many employers right now are still letting people work from home more. We're also in the summer. Sometimes they do different, things in the summer that allow parents to have a little more flexibility with their kids. That may be going away in the fall. And so for somebody watching right now who is really kind of scrambling to figure out childcare within the next couple of months, how quickly do you think this can make an impact?
I think it'll make an impact quickly, but I always encourage people to check. We have an amazing resource called the Child Care Resource and Referral Network in our county. There are referral agencies in all of the counties, and they specifically work with parents to help those parents identify childcare. The other thing that's happening in this region, and part of our kind of layered incremental changes in childcare, is that we were able to get an increased payment rate to those childcare centers accepting childcare subsidy, and increase the eligibility for parents. So I would say to parents, if you weren't eligible for assistance in the past, you very well may be now. It is up to 300% of the federal poverty level, which is a pretty substantial income for a family of 4 or any size. So I would really encourage parents to start now calling the Child Care Resource and Referral Network, and they will also know by tomorrow who the new providers will be, and we'll have a better sense of what their opening dates will be.
It is such an important topic to so many families. You mentioned the child care deserts that we have here, and I think this will be welcome news to a lot of folks. SHERI SCAVONE is CEO of the Western New York Women's Foundation. Thanks so much for coming on. We'd like to talk to you again as this really starts to roll out.
Terrific. Thanks so much for having me.